Welcome to the Practical NLP podcast with me, Andy Smith. Catch up on previous episodes at nlppod.com. Another way of reframing a problematic behaviour, and this is as true for organisations as it is for people, is to remember the principle that there's a positive intention behind every behaviour, and make a distinction between the behaviour, which may be undesirable, and the positive intention behind it. When you do this, it reframes the behaviour in the light of the positive intention. Instead of being labelled as negative, it can be seen as the person doing the best they can to serve the positive intention with the choices they have available. This opens the way to finding new choices which can better achieve the positive intention without the negative consequences or side effects of the old behaviour. That's what the process known as the 6-step reframe does. In addition to separating the problem behaviour from the positive intention behind it, the method also enlists the creative powers of the unconscious mind to generate new choices. The German chemist August Kekulé said that his discovery of the ring-shaped structure of the benzene molecule came to him in a daydream of a snake holding its tail in its mouth, an example of the unconscious mind providing the solution to a problem. The discovery of the 6-step reframe pattern was even stranger. John Grinder was set to teach a seminar when he came down with a raging fever. As an NLP trainer, he was determined to do whatever it took to deliver value to his clients. So he made a deal with his unconscious mind. Let me give a decent performance today, and when I get back to the hotel, I'll drink some schnapps, wrap myself in all the blankets, and sweat it out. He went to the client venue, did his job, and went straight back to the hotel, where he drank the schnapps, wrapped himself in the blankets, and slept for 14 hours. The next morning, he didn't remember anything about the previous day. As far as I know, John Grinder doesn't get nervous, but he must have wondered how he would be received on his second day at the client's. When he got there, the clients greeted him enthusiastically, telling him what a great job he'd done and looking forward to another excellent day. He didn't know what he'd done, but when he got to the training room, he found the steps of a process written on the flip chart in his own handwriting. He had no conscious recollection of writing it, but when he looked at the process, he found a very elegant method for getting the unconscious mind to design alternatives to problem behaviour, with a built-in ecology check. Better than anything he could have come up with consciously. The presupposition that forms the foundation of the 6-step reframe method is that all behaviour has benefits and a positive intention. So even a behaviour that is causing problems comes from an intention that's positive. Let's take the example of smoking. You often get smokers who talk about smoking being a disgusting habit, even as they light up. But demonising the habit, or the part of them that's responsible for smoking, doesn't help them to stop. In fact, the part of them that, for whatever reason, is responsible for the smoking is more likely to harden its attitudes, dig its heels in, and refuse to consider changing if it feels under attack. There is an alternative. If we remember that every behaviour has a positive intention behind it, we can separate the behaviour from the intention. We can dislike the behaviour but still appreciate the intention. So the intention behind smoking might originally have been to fit in, to feel cool, to supply confidence, or to be able to change state rapidly, none of which are bad in themselves. Focusing on the positive intention has two interesting effects. The first is that the part responsible won't feel under attack and will therefore be more open to change. The second effect of focusing on the intention rather than the behaviour is that it opens the way to other choices. There are many possible ways to fulfill a positive intention. The current choice is just the best one that's been found so far, even if it has undesirable consequences. No one's going to give up their best choice willingly or respond well if someone tries to ban it. But if the focus becomes the intention, the question, would you like to have some other choices for achieving that, becomes a possibility. And when you have some new choices that are at least as good at achieving the intention as the old behaviour, but don't have the downsides, you don't need to do the old behaviour anymore. It's not banned, it's still available as a choice, but you won't need to do it. The 6-step reframe, and NLP generally, is not about taking choices away. Rather, it's about providing additional choices so that you can select the best choice in any given situation. Let's try out the 6-step reframe as a DIY technique, which you could easily guide someone else through once you're familiar with it, and then we'll think about how you can adapt it to an organizational or business setting. You'll need to give this your full attention, so if you're driving, I suggest you either pull over somewhere you can listen to it safely or stop the audio now and listen at a more suitable time. You can try this approach with a behavior, an unwanted response, a habit, or even a physical symptom, and see what happens. Step 1. Identify a behavior or symptom that you would like to have more choices around. Since everyone listening has a different thing, we're going to give it a code letter, X. Set up a signal with your unconscious mind. Ask your unconscious mind if it would be okay to communicate directly about X using yes or no signals. If at first the answer is no, thank it for communicating with you and reassure it that you're only trying to get some information in order to help it have more choices. If that's okay, ask your unconscious mind to give you a signal that means yes. Leave some space for the signal to appear. It could be an image that comes into your mind, it could be a word, it could be a feeling, it could be a physical movement. Just leave some space until you get a signal. When you get a signal, of course, you need to be sure that it's actually a signal and not something that's popped into your mind randomly. So ask your unconscious mind if that is the signal for yes, please make it stronger. Again, allow some space for this to happen. When you get a reliable yes signal, thank your unconscious mind for communicating with you. Now, ask your unconscious mind for another signal to mean no. Again, leave some space for the signal to appear. Make sure it actually is a signal and thank your unconscious mind for providing it. Step 3. Discover the positive intention. Ask your unconscious mind what is the positive intention behind X. Your unconscious mind may let you know what that intention is, or it may want to keep it hidden from your conscious awareness at the moment. Either way is fine. Thank your unconscious mind for the positive intention, whether you consciously know it or not, and let it know that you appreciate that there is a positive intention. Step 4. Generate alternatives. Ask your unconscious mind, would it be okay to have more choices in this situation? Ask the creative aspect of your unconscious mind to generate at least 3 alternatives to X that would satisfy the positive intention. These new choices can be on an unconscious level. Ask your unconscious mind to give you a yes signal each time it generates an alternative, even if you don't know what that alternative is yet. Thank the unconscious mind when you've got those 3 alternatives. Step 5. Future pace. Ask your unconscious mind to fully imagine trying out each new choice in the type of situation where previously it would have done behavior Y. For each one, ask, are you willing to use this alternative choice instead of behavior X? Get a yes or no signal. If the answer is yes, thank your unconscious mind and go on. If it's no, put a time limit on your request, for example 2 weeks, to try out the alternatives to make sure they work. If the answer is still no, repeat step 4 to generate some more alternatives. Thank your unconscious mind. Final step is the ecology and congruence check. Check with the whole unconscious mind to make sure it is completely comfortable and accepts the entire process and the alternatives. If yes, and your conscious mind also feels okay, thank your unconscious mind. If there's an objection, or if you don't feel completely comfortable, go back to step 3 and discover the positive intention of not trying out the new choices. Go on to ask the unconscious mind if it will take responsibility for trying the new behaviors out. And then come back and notice what's different for you now when you think about X. Just to highlight a couple of points about that process, the process works equally well whether you're consciously aware of the positive intention or not. You may get a real revelation if you weren't aware of the positive intention previously, which can bring about a big change in how you regard the issue. But the process still works if you don't consciously know what the positive intention is. The main purpose of that question is to remind the unconscious mind that there is a positive intention, no matter how unpleasant the problem behavior or response may be. Also, you may not be aware of what the new choices are, and you may find yourself in the next week or so being pleasantly surprised or even delighted to find yourself behaving in new and different ways in the kinds of situations where previously you would have used the old behavior X. Now, you could, of course, coach someone else through that process using similar wording. Remember to use your sensory acuity. The signals for yes and no could be some involuntary movement such as a finger twitch or a small shift in breathing, that it's easier for you to notice than for them. That's it for this week's podcast. Remember, you can see the show notes for this episode at nlppod.com, and you can download back episodes you may have missed from the online store at webstore.nlppod.com. See you next time.